Hello everyone, I'm Erin Kenny. I am the head of the technical unit of the Spotlight Initiative to eliminate violence against women and girls. I'm very honored today to be here with Dr. Natalia Kanem, UN Undersecretary General and Executive Director of UNFPA, the United Nations Population Fund. We're here today to talk about the EU-UN Spotlight Initiative and UNFPA's work to advance the health and rights of women and girls worldwide. First question for you, Dr. Kanem. The UN Deputy Secretary General often refers to SDG 5 as the docking station for all other Sustainable Development Goals. As you know, in 2017, the European Union and the United Nations launched the Spotlight Initiative to eliminate violence against women and girls as an SDG model fund to carry out this vision. UNFPA, alongside UN Women and UNDP, is a core agency of the Spotlight Initiative. What is the significance of the Spotlight Initiative to achieving our development goals?
Well, hi, Erin. I'm really excited to be here in Brussels for my first European Development Days. I'm thrilled in particular because the EU Spotlight Initiative really has thrown light on a subject which needs to be discussed more, and prevention, treatment. All of these are issues that are very live today. When we know the terrible statistics, it's really, really important that for the concerted joint partnership effort, EU Spotlight is really about SDG 5. It is about full gender equality. The question of rights makes a transformative difference in the life of a young girl growing up, to know that she should be protected and nurtured and treated with full equality. That's going to be one of the very important ingredients to accelerate the promise of the Sustainable Development Goals. To my mind, the partnership that we're all a part of, and which the EU has very generously contributed to, is bringing together new faces and new actors that we didn't have before, yet keeping the grassroots at the center. The government support that's going to them, all of the work that the technical teams are doing in terms of bringing new outlooks on what are we going to do. And the whole point of it is that we're going to do something. The whole point of it is that we're going to act, that we're engaging women and men in this aspect of full equality.
Yeah, excellent. So, as you know, in Africa, the Spotlight Initiative has a tripartite focus on SGBV, SRHR, and which is sexual and reproductive health and rights, and harmful practices. Now, harmful practices is an area of work that UNFPA has shown very strong leadership in. Can you talk a little bit more about why ending harmful practices against women and girls is so critical to achieving our development goals?
Well, Erin, as I walked in here, I was so delighted to meet President Macky Sall of Senegal, because, as you know, right now the head of UN Women, Pumzile, is with a whole group of actors, including UNFPA, for the first Africa Summit on female genital mutilation, ending a practice which has hundreds of years of tradition behind it. Yeah. But our goal actually is to say that anything that harms people must be reevaluated. And having worked on this personally for quite a long time, I will also say that communities are really starving for the kind of information that EU Spotlight is helping us to bring together. So, of course, once parents understand that this is not a practice that's healthy for the girl, and also that it does nothing in terms of elevating her. Typically, as you know, this is a pre-marriage ritual. So it's been very exciting to see culture change and to see communities availing themselves of this type of understanding. I believe that when you have a deep-seated issue like a harmful practice, child marriage, FGM, it takes all of us looking at it from multiple dimensions. UNICEF has worked very closely with UNFPA on this issue as well, because FGM is not only life-threatening, it also prevents girls from completing their education. They're absent from school. And we also see that the question of bodily integrity is also one of personal justice. These are all things that are coming together so that as we work on moving forward, the ability to really help communities transfer positive aspects of culture and leave those that aren't beneficial behind is really, really important.
So speaking about communities and speaking about girls and thinking about the theme of this year's European Development Days, which is on inequality, the concept of leaving no one behind is essential to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, and it's a primary preoccupation of Spotlight as well. Reaching and engaging persons living with disabilities is critical to realizing this priority. And we know that women and girls, especially living with disabilities, face intersecting levels of discrimination that result in further marginalization and abuse. UNFPA's work in this area is laudable. Can you tell us more about what UNFPA is doing and why this area of work is so important?
Well, again, Erin, we have to be serious about leaving no one behind, and everybody has equal rights. It doesn't matter where you are, who you are, whether the disability is physical, mental, whatever it is. Full respect for the brilliance of people with disabilities who typically, by the way, know much more about solutions than able-bodied people who don't have to even think about how you navigate through the course of a day. So it's outrageous that disabled girls in particular are victimized. For example, a study that we've just carried out last year really shows a harsh picture of the added risk just because you're disabled, up to 3 times more. Australia has also done research in this area, showing that the victimization of people with disabilities is a huge problem. And when we consider that across the world, 1 in 7 of us has some type of disability, again, putting that spotlight, EU spotlight, choosing to look at what are we going to do to make sure that the disabled person, him or herself, first of all, is empowered to speak out. But more than that, I think a lot of it is making it very clear that there will be consequences for the abuse of persons with disabilities. Very often they're isolated, they can be locked away. It can be very discouraging for them to try to demand their rights. So working together, we're really doing a lot in that realm. Very important stuff.
And of course, thinking about all of these intersecting areas of work, the idea of partnership is so critical. And we are right now in a moment where multilateralism is actually under threat. With partnerships being so essential to achieving all of our development goals, including to ensure the health of rights in girls. We're 25 years since Cairo. What is UNFPA doing to really reinforce this idea of partnership as so essential to ensuring the rights and health of women and girls?
Well, it's amazing to think that we're 25 years out. Next year, Beijing will follow. The Cairo conference in 1994 put certain things on the table that really changed the world. Mm-hmm. One of them was, as we think about population, that we're not talking about numbers, we're talking about people. And Dr. Nafis Sadik made it very clear, and this was following upon the Rio conference, which had been on the environment, that women must be squarely at the center of development. So a lot of these themes follow through into the Sustainable Development Goals era. For UNFPA, we want to make it very clear that there's still unfinished business. Yes, we claim progress. Maternal mortality down by almost half, by 40-some%. That's really good. Things like life expectancy have really improved. We're better at data and quantification and disaggregation. But as you well know, there's so much left undone in that Cairo agenda and in the SDG agenda. So as we think about completing that set of promises that were made to women, we're building towards a summit in Nairobi, ICPD at 25. I'm really happy that so many civil society partners are walking that road to Nairobi with us. All of the UN has galvanized with us. But more than anything, it's a young people's conference for them to understand what quality of life can be if sexual and reproductive health services, rights, and also the ability to talk openly about sexuality, it's going to make it a better world when we think 25 years from now.
I'm really excited for the summit. I think it's going to be an amazing event.
Thank you.
I can't believe it's been 25 years either. So I'm going to turn over. We've gotten a few questions from the
Wonderful.
Facebook Live audience. I'm actually going to build on the last point you made about this being a young people's summit, and that the young people are really going to define and drive our development goals and achievement of those goals. So we've got a question specific to child marriage and what UNFPA is doing to end child marriage. The person who sent this question thinks that keeping girls in schools could be one of the best ways to do that, and I just wanted to get your reflections.
Well, absolutely. I mean, keeping girls in school is actually part of the cycle that child marriage can interrupt. So we need to keep girls in school so that they'll understand their potential and be able to fulfill it. But I think we also need to insist that child marriage should stop, because it actually does prevent girls from completing their education. Now, as we look at the reasons that people marry girls off at a young age before normal consent, we have to understand that a lot of this tradition really comes from social economic pressure, right? And the importance also of insisting on equal treatment of girls and boys as well, because once the girl is sequestered into a marriage, in quotes, she can very often be cut off from the normal routine. So we've worked very closely with parents, with male peers, and also with the law, with society. We want the law to be on the books, and then we want that law to be translated into action. But where there is no policy, it makes everything so much more difficult. Education is very protective for the girl herself, and the benefits to the family have been shown over and over again. So we have joined hands with many agencies of the UN, but also in civil society, to demand that we look at this very seriously. And you know what's so interesting? It happens in every society around the world. And it's very surprising when we look at these statistics that you can change it very quickly if there's a concerted effort. So that's why we're trying to be out front on this, and why I appreciate that question so much.
Well, I want to really appreciate your time coming fresh off a plane from New York.
Indeed.
And best of luck getting ready. The road to Nairobi is hopefully paved with gold and good intention, and will deliver great things, as I'm sure it will. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.